Hello, I am Sandra Lee, Human Design Specialist and Biofield Tuning Practitioner. I have my friend April here with me, and she has had a near-death experience that she is happy to talk with us about. April, I know as another Human Design Specialist. So I am going to go ahead and let you just go ahead and get started, April. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, and I'm just really happy to answer any questions anybody might have. But I guess I'll just kind of tell my story. I was very ill last August, like everybody else. You know, I ended up getting COVID. Not everybody, but most of us, I guess now. And I was very ill for about a week. And, I thought I was getting better, and my husband and I finally were able to, see each other, and he gave me a big hug, and when he did, I felt like, my breath was leaving my body, like I was having difficulty breathing. I hadn't noticed it before. So we had this nice embrace, but it felt like, "Oh my goodness, I don't know that I can breathe." So he was concerned and he said, "Do you think that we need to go to the hospital?" And I said, "No, let's just go to bed and I'm sure I'll feel better in the morning." But when I got up the next day, I couldn't, and I could only take really small breaths, and I knew something was really wrong. So he rushed me to the emergency room, and they did all the things that they did, and there was no space at our hospital here locally, so, an ambulance took me to Atlanta, and I was checked in, and for the first few days, I was getting better, and then around, day 4 to 5, my oxygen started getting worse, and, so what happened at that point is, all of a sudden there were people filling the room I was in, working on me, trying to get me to breathe. And the next thing I know, I wasn't in my body anymore. I was outside my body. I could see and sense people around me. I could feel the equipment on my body, but it was like it wasn't me. I was outside of my body and I was kind of looking down at all of it. And I was watching it, but I kinda got bored, and, I just felt drawn to something. It's difficult to talk about this because it's not really verbal per se. It was like understandings that I understood what this entity was saying to me. I call it love because that's what it felt like. I felt as if I was expansive. I wasn't, uh contained in anything anymore. I felt one with everything. There was this sense of oneness. Um, there was a loss of identity. I didn't feel like I still exist, but the part of me that is the I, that is April, was not there. And I was drawn to this part of me or part of everything that I could only call love. And while I was there in that place, I began to see, or I guess vision, the workings of my own mind. And it was then that it was explained to me that it manufactures fear and that all of our minds do that. And that it's a lie. It's not true. The only thing that's real, the only thing that matters is love. And as this was going on, I was being reminded that people that had harmed me in my life or that I perceived had done wrong things had just forgotten who they are, which is love. And that I at times had also forgotten who I was, which is love. So it's difficult to um, say how long I was there with love. I can't come up with a better word. That's just all it was. To me, it just felt like not like earthly love. It was just all encompassing love. I don't even know how much time passed, but enough time to understand that I wasn't separate anymore. There was just this undifferentiated consciousness, that I was one with all things, and I didn't miss anybody. I had no concept of separation from anybody that I loved. And so this went on for a while. It was just a reiteration of um, how we are all love, and if we behave in any way that is contrary to our nature, that which is love, it's simply because we have forgotten our true essence. We've forgotten who we are. And so the next thing I know, I was being wheeled down the hall to ICU, and I could see the lights above me, and they were all kind of like streaming together like one big long line. And I just adored everybody around me. I adored everybody, the doctors, the nurses, everybody. Like I was like, when I was coming to, I was smiling ear to ear. I'm sure they thought it was like a lack of oxygen. Maybe it was, I don't know, but I was just filled with this bliss. And I think that went on for about 2 days. And I did start to improve, but not a lot. And the care there wasn't very good. There were some really wonderful people, and there were some people that I will say have forgotten who they are, taking care of me. And I ended up going home, not real certain if I was going to make it, but I'd passed the test and was able to be home with the assistance of oxygen. And the next few months were just recovery for me. So I'm still kind of integrating this experience. I've listened to other people's near-death experience, and there's some common threads, but I think everybody's is unique. So that's kind of the short version of my story. I went on to write a book about it called "Love Is, Fear Is Not," and if it's something that you're interested in, you can find it on Amazon. It's very short. The whole experience was 13 days long, being hospitalized. The recovery was much longer. But you could probably read this book in a day, day and a half. But it was important to me that I not only communicate about that there is hope after we leave our bodies, um, and that who we really are is not um, what we often think we are. All of our insecurities, all of our the things we do in life that maybe we are not pleasant to ourselves or to one another, isn't really actually who we are. We are an undifferentiated consciousness with all that is, which in my speech is love. So that's kind of the short version of my story. But you're welcome to read it if you like. It's on Amazon. Love is, fear is not, because fear is a creation. It's a creation of the mind. So that's my story.
That's wonderful, April. Thank you so much for sharing it.
You're welcome.
So how is your awareness and connection to love now? Has it
It's never
changed?
Yes, well, no, it's not changed since that happened. It's always there. It's never left me. Um, I have an awareness of my own, of who I am and who everyone else is, and that does change the way that I see the world. I don't have it was difficult integrating back, because there is a part of you that longs for that place, because it is such a beautiful space to inhabit. Um, but you bring a piece of it with you. So I kind of feel like I'm straddling two places in a sense now. But I do always feel that presence, and I don't have another word that's more perfect than that word for it.
Mhm. So, me imagining having become aware of that unconditionalness
Yes.
of love, and then to come back into the current time world where
Hmm.
there is so much stress and trauma and division
Yes.
happening, to me, that would be really painful. How is it that you, um, adjust to the insanity that's going on right now?
I think I'm still adjusting. I think initially for a few weeks, I suffered with some depression, because I tasted something that was very real and more real than what I feel is what we're going through. I mean, in some sense, um, it was more real, and it was extremely liberating. It was it's different being contained in physicality, and it's different having the mind again, that likes to tell its stories and create narratives, and, I didn't have to deal with that out of body. There was no mind. There was
Mhm.
no I didn't identify as anything other than where I was, and so, it was a very blissful experience, so I missed that, and it was yeah, the reality that started to hit me when I came home was a hard one to deal with. I was grateful to be with family and friends again, um, but also a little sad not to be there. I know that sounds so strange, but
Actually, to me, it doesn't sound strange at all. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned when we talked before that you realize you're still integrating
Yes,
back in,
yes.
and, has this experience, um, changed how you get past the difficult times or past when things are challenged? Or I know when I get really confronted, I can get
Mhm.
stuck.
Right.
Has this changed how you get through that?
Yes, I think I don't really buy what my mind says at all. Like, and I think I was before. I think I was really, like, I know that what it's constant chattering and stories and narrations are, um, falsehoods a lot of the time, or an attempt to try to calculate or measure, a thing, and not necessarily rooted in reality. So I think if anything, what it's done is it's really solidified for me a clear separation between who I am in my essence and the mind, which isn't, which has created a lot of, illusion, and, it's a big part of it. So for me, I guess that's the gift that I've been given, is that I don't really buy into it. I become more of a witness.
Yeah. Oh, that perfect. Yeah. That
Yeah.
makes absolute sense.
Yeah. So that I mean, that's been a real gift in that sense. I mean, I think I had a mental understanding of what it meant to be a witness. I meditated for years and years. I understood that, but I never experienced it to that degree where there was a complete separation from the mind. There was no verbal communication, there was no auditory, there was not I mean, I just was, and I wasn't even I, so if that makes any sense. I know.
Absolutely. So, has it altered how you interact with other people?
Yes, I'm very aware that they are subject to, that inner narration as well, and I think I have more, I don't know if it's patience, or I don't feel impatient with them as much when their thinking's not correct. I see where it's coming from. I saw what manufactures that, in my
Mhm.
own mind, and so I guess I I have really a lot of compassion for people now. And I think I've always been a fairly compassionate person, but I think this just knowing what we're subject to, as humans, and how difficult that can be, and how hard it can be to, detect, illusion from reality, given, our mental, capacity, or what goes on in our minds.
Mhm. So, do you ever say anything differently to people? I mean, not necessarily telling them about the experience, but has it changed what you actually say to people?
I think I have less to say to people. I
Hmm.
don't feel like I have a lot to, I think I listen more to what they're
Mhm.
saying. I I don't know, it's kind of odd, like, I don't have the verbal capacity that I had before. I don't feel like I have as much that actually needs to be said. I So, I mean, I feel like things we can say things pretty profound very simply, and that's be what life has become very simple for me. I mean, even time, I used to be a person that had my life scheduled out in 15-minute increments and
Oh my.
kept track of it, and now I can sit and hours go by just looking out the window. Um, so and that was kinda hard because I think I had for a while, I was, like, comparing who I am now with who I was before and feeling like,
Mhm.
can't why can't I get back to that human who that person was, but I don't think it's going away, things are not going to change, and it is more peaceful. It's accepting, I guess it's the mind accepting that it just doesn't function like that anymore. My perception of time is very, very different. So, that I think has been one of the biggest changes, and, just talking to people now, I'm more apt to listen and really try to hear what they're saying as opposed to always talk. So
Yeah. So, in human design, we say that your birth chart stays your birth chart, and then you
mhm,
have your near-death experience chart,
yeah.
and that it can be like being the same person, but a different person. Does it feel like that?
It very much feels like that, and I've been trying to narrow down the time, that everything occurred. I haven't quite figured it out yet, so I don't really know, what might have changed in the chart, but it would be very interesting to find out because I do feel like something like things have fundamentally changed, and I'm not quite sure what that all entails, but yeah, it's definitely been interesting, and I think, again, the biggest thing for me, one of the big struggles besides being back in body, and what it is to be in a body, the second big struggle was the comparison, the mind immediately wants to compare, "Well, you used to do it like this, and you used" and all of that, and it's like, "Well, I don't now." So, it isn't
And you can't make yourself.
No, no, I really can't, and I just have I don't have the kinda drive that I had before to do some of the things that I did, and, I actually feel really good about that. I just feel like life is living me, this character, so
What came up to ask is, it feels like this is all free,
yeah.
like free life,
Yes.
extra.
Yeah. Yes, yes, it's just become very simple. Everything has simplified, um, and I just feel a desire to just be connected with all of it and just experience it rather than rush to the next thing, because I think I kinda live my life like that for a long time. I mean, it's really I guess it underpins the importance of just being fully present in your life. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I almost find myself wishing I could have the same experience, even though I don't actually really want to have a
Yeah.
death experience, but
Yeah.
I can choose to live some parts of that
Yeah.
without having to have the experience, and getting to hear from you, it's like, "What this is like?" "Oh, I can see that there's real value
Yeah.
there."
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if that's a message I'd like to really people to really understand is that, um, the mind isn't if you can just understand that it is almost like a word processing machine. It's just processing things, and it's not to be taken seriously. Like, you have in your body and I think and in some ways, this has really confirmed human design for me in a whole new level, because in your body, you have a knowing that totally bypasses the mental chatter, and if you can really connect with that, life does become simpler, more natural, and you don't feel like you have to have a plan 24/7. Like, your body just naturally moves where it needs to go, and it naturally moves away from what's not for it. And, so I feel like I'm living that now. I think before I taught about it, spoke about it, gave readings, but I think I'm living that more now, than I was before. It has proven, um, at least to me, that that's a reality.
Fabulous. So another question comes up. So did it change at all your physical health? So it's like you were really sick.
Yes, I have been left with some issues. I have a chronic cough. I have that I've had for 10 months now, and muscle pains, and I could not sleep for probably very much the first few months when I came home. And I have some trauma because there were a lot of things that went on there that weren't right. And I know I'm not the only person to have gone through that. But so yeah, so I'm still dealing with it. I think again, I'm more of a witness to it. Like I'm like, oh, look what your body's doing, but that's not you. It's your body doing it. And I trust that I will heal in time. So I do have some leftover physical issues and some leftover emotional things that I'm dealing with. Because like I said, I do feel like I'm still integrating this, and I don't know if there's a time frame on how long that takes, you know, speaking of
Yeah.
cough.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Well, so it sounds like maybe what you're experiencing physically is just recovery from long COVID.
I think so. Yeah, I feel like that's probably what it is. Um, you know, there was also equipment used that was kind of harsh to my trachea,
Mm,
so
yeah.
that might have played a role. So yeah. So, I'm just kinda patient with it. I'm just loving on my body and talking to it and letting it process and do what it needs to do. So I'm grateful. I'm
Yeah.
grateful to have it as a vehicle that made it through all that, so I feel good about that.
Well, like we were saying a few minutes ago, this is kind of free.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing too, it's like, there is no fear, like, once you've and that's really important, like, the moments leading up to the time that I left my body were terrifying because
Mhm.
I think that the mind was still kind of clinging to its identity, and then once that cleared, it was like liberty, it was total freedom, and there
Mm.
was no fear there at all, there is only love, and that's all that is real, and it was just a creation of the mind, the fear that I felt prior to, leaving. So, um, I think that's one of the things I really that's why the title of my book, Love Is, Fear Is Not, because it is the only thing that's real, and I felt completely loved, held, not contained, expansive. I mean, it was a very beautiful experience once the mind became disinvolved with the process. So, I think if anything, those that have lost loved ones or that are in the process of leaving, I hope that this maybe gives them some comfort that it's not an unpleasant experience, once, that time comes.
So do you think there was a particular reason why your soul or your body or whatever chose to come back and stay?
People have asked me that question, and I've heard stories where there's, like, discussion about whether to come back or, there really wasn't, I was just back. And I think about this sometimes, like, why did I come back? My husband says, "Oh, it was for me." You know, and I really didn't have thought of my loved ones again being separate from me. So I don't think it was to come back to them because there was no separation. Um, I don't maybe it's just to tell this story. Maybe I have work to continue to do here. Maybe I'm here to make some contributions or maybe I'm just here to be. I don't really have a clear-cut answer with that. I am back. So I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to let life live me and see what happens.
Well, that's a message for other people all by itself.
Yeah.
Everything is love. There
Yes.
is no fear.
No.
And just be, I don't have to after life
Right.
the way I used to and just be.
Yeah, exactly, but the purpose of being alive is being alive, you know, I mean, you're here, so, be present, take it all in, it's a cool movie, you
Yeah.
know? It's interesting with lots of, plot twists and surprises and wonderful experiences and sometimes not, but there's a gift in all of that, and, that's what I'm just looking at life like it's just one giant, adventure, you know?
I know one of the things that's really important in my life is food,
Mhm.
and, thinking about how rich an experience being in a physical body on
Yes.
Earth is, and so it's like, even though I haven't had this experience, I am now going to be more grateful
Mm.
for the wondrous experience that is food, that
Yes.
is breathing or being able to go outside and walk and enjoy the water
Oh,
and,
yes.
just to have gratitude for it all.
Yes, it is an amazing life, you know, I don't take for granted the simple things anymore.
Mhm.
I hear a little kid laughing, I'm just raptured, I'm laughing with them. If when I see the sun come up, I'm just like, I'm in awe. I see my dog begging for food and it's funny, I mean, everything's just richer. It's just a whole lot like, you notice stuff a lot more, I think. You notice it because you know that it's temporal, like, it's not we're not none of us are here forever, and all of us will have that time, that day where our consciousness leaves our body. And, what happens next, I don't know for sure, but I know that it's a good experience, and I know that it's okay there. And I think that's what I feel like people have lost a lot of family members and friends the last 2 years, and I
Mhm.
really want them to know that. I want them to know that although what their family member or friend might have gone through might have been really awful, when that time came, they were completely held and loved, and they felt nothing but good.
Mm.
Nothing but good. So, yeah, so if I came back to say that, then that's enough, I think. So,
Tears in my eyes.
mhm.
Is there anything else you wanna say?
No, I just want to encourage everybody to just really make the most of each moment. Love yourself, you know? Don't take this wonderful experience for granted, and know that fear is not real. Love is the only thing that is.
Thank you.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you, thank you, thank you.
My pleasure.
So this, my friends, is April, and she is even more delightful than I knew her to be before. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you, everybody.
Thanks.